so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I'm super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness-elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features none other than you, the listeners. Optimistic is taped out of the epic spaceship-esque 8-bedroom property we call the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in Venice Beach, California. And you are invited to come experience a Mystic Manor immersion week with us. During your week-long stay, you'll enjoy unique workshops, chef-prepared meals, one-on-one time coaching and consulting with me, and even co-creating magic with me as a guest on both Optimistic and an episode of the Positive Head podcast. When I started this, my aim with these immersive retreats was to facilitate the ultimate spiritual upgrade and tune-up, so to speak, for our guests while providing them with one of the most memorable experiences of their lives. And I'm happy to say that as of this recording, every guest at the end of their trip so far has told me that they have had a profound and transformational experience at the Mystic Manor and that they definitely want to come back. All that being said, we only have a limited number of spots available between now and next July. And as of this recording, about half of those spots are already filled. So if there's any part of you that is screaming, yes, I want to come, I feel like I need to be there, go now and book a slot with me to discuss how we can put our heads together and make it happen at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. I know for some people, there is also that little voice in their head saying, why not? I can't get off work. I can't afford it, and on and on and on. But, really, Henry Ford, I think, said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I'm confident that where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm personally committed to doing everything in my power, including discounts and payment plans, to get you here if it is something that truly feels like a huge yes for you energetically and like you're meant to be here. Once again, the link to book time to discuss with me is calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. That's spelled calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. All one word, of course. And book in some time and look forward to seeing you soon here at the Mystic Manor.
Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Tracie Sell. Tracie is a Starseed astrologer and certified Reiki practitioner. Hi, Tracie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alexa. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out and wanting to share your story and your gifts with us. So happy to meet any listener of this podcast. We're all such special beings.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah. Well, so why don't we, start with the beginning of your story. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background, what your journey's been like up until now, and, how you got to where you are.
Okay, sounds good. So I basically am an artist originally. I went to school for fine arts, and I'm a painter and a portrait artist. And I actually do some glass blowing as well. But in my mid-20s, I knew that there was more that I wanted to do within astrology, because I had always been interested. But that's really when my studies picked up. I'm 33 now, and I started probably studying really intensively at about the age of 25. And I had an astrology teacher. She actually recently passed away this summer. But yeah, I have just been on a journey of, learning astrology and finding myself within astrology as well. And now I'm at the point where I have done about over 350 recorded readings, natal chart readings. And I specifically, I refer to myself as a Starseed astrologer because I specifically look for star markings in the natal chart and go through those with the person who has submitted for the reading, just to let them know what my interpretation is of their mission here in the age of Aquarius.
Wow. Wait, so can you go into that a little bit more? What does that mean? Because I've had a natal chart reading. I have, astrologers, astrologists, that I interact with quite a bit. But what do you mean when you're specifically a starseed astrologer and you're looking for the star markings in the chart? How is that different from typical astrology?
Okay, so when I get a natal chart, obviously there's all the traditional astrology aspects there. And so if there happens to be star markings in the chart, I do a blend of traditional and starseed astrology in the reading. And starseed means that you have not only incarnated here on the earth plane in the third dimension, it means that you have also been incarnate in other star systems. And when I am doing starseed confirmations, I am specifically referring to those of Pleiadian descent. And the Pleiades is one of the closest galaxies to our galaxy. And Pleiadians are the others, quote unquote, who are dedicated to Earth's proper ascension. So all of those ancient civilizations that had, a heightened consciousness and awareness of the cosmos, mathematics, how sacred and divine Earth and the plants and the animals are, and how intrinsic they are and we are. And so those were all Pleiadian projects: ancient Egypt, Atlantis, Lemuria, Native Americans. And so then we had, a fall from consciousness. And then the dawning of the age of Aquarius came in the 60s. And those people were kind of laying down some groundwork for the age of Aquarius to come, which is now. And these markings in the chart are kind of, it's almost like a little bit of numerology mixed in with the astrology. And there's 360 degrees in the whole natal chart, 30 degrees in every house, and only about 6 numbers that indicate that someone is starseed. And so sometimes I will get a chart where almost every one of their planets and, axis points are at star markings, at star degrees. And and sometimes there's only a couple. But when I see only a couple, I like to then look at the progress chart as well, because we don't always necessarily incarnate with all of our gifts activated, and we will go through activations as time goes on, as lessons are learned and what have you. And this doesn't mean that, traditional astrology doesn't quite apply to starseeds in the same exact way. There's a certain level of voluntary incarnation to do the work in the age of Aquarius. We all specifically choose when, where, and with whom within our soul family to incarnate based on our soul's karmic needs and that point of our soul's evolution. But starseeds carry in specific frequencies that can be utilized to, assist in the age of Aquarius in terms of, I guess the easiest way to put it is just all of the love and the light, and really what we're supposed to be is we're supposed to be a perfect blend, a balance of divine feminine and divine masculine. And you see a lot of that now. That's really coming to the forefront of everything. People are awakening to this, and
yeah, thank you for that explanation. So is that one way to know that you're a starseed then? Like by looking at your natal chart and taking it to someone like you? Is that one way? Because I hear people ask that all the time. Like, how do I know if I'm a starseed? How do I know if so that's one way through the natal chart.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yep. Wow. That's really cool. And are you a starseed?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why you feel drawn to do starseed astrology specifically.
Yes. When I actually first started studying astrology, I was not fully aware of my own star markings. This came probably a couple years into my astrology journey. And when I first heard the word starseed, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The word was like, it just it came to me. It hit me. I felt something, and I knew that I needed to delve deeper into this. And then I actually had a Starseed astrology teacher. And so, she gave me her interpretation of my mission here. And actually what my divine mission is here in the age of Aquarius is to awaken other starseeds to their divine mission and give my best interpretation of that
to them. Yeah, which is such an important job, right? It's so cool to think about. It really is, it's so, because everyone has a specific role to play, and it's cool, to be in that role of the one that gets to help clarify for people, because there is a lot of confusion.
It's very fulfilling. Yes. Because, sometimes when people reach out to me for natal chart readings, they don't even necessarily realize what it is that, if it's coming through a recommendation or what have you. Sometimes they are specifically looking to hear that confirmation, but sometimes they're not quite expecting to hear what I have to say. And I will say 9 times out of 10 that people come back after their reading and really, express to me how life-changing it is to hear these things. And, astrology is cool and helpful. Astrology and psychology kind of go hand in hand, because within the natal chart, it shows all of your gifts that you chose to incarnate with, and it shows all of your challenges that you chose to incarnate with. And all of those challenges have the opportunity to become gifts once those lessons have been mastered or overcome. And so when an astrologer can say specific things that they see within your chart that really hit home or resonate so well, or that are so specific that people can really say, wow, okay, this is the map of my soul. It allows you to dance with your skeletons, so to speak, because you chose all of these things. You chose all of these challenges. And starseeds generally don't have an easy go at it in life in general, because you can't be a healer unless you've experienced some level of pain and suffering. Mm-hmm. And it can be, it's a very dense place here for such light bodies, and it can be very hard and very depressing sometimes, and sometimes even feel lonely. Starseeds can generally have a feeling of being a black sheep, or not quite fitting in, or even having a longing for something or somewhere, and they don't really know what that is. And you have a whole star family also, aside from your soul family. And of course, your soul family goes beyond the people who are incarnate here with you. You know, you have your ancestors and your guides and all of that. So it just really allows people to kind of switch from that mode of victimization into stepping into their full power and owning those things that are, challenges you incarnated with.
Yeah. I was just reflecting on, I have an astrologer friend named Michael Boyle, and he was the only one who's ever given me like a natal reading, and he gave me a natal reading. And I feel like what you're expressing, and I can relate to it, is like when you see it all laid out before you and you have it interpreted in a way to you that you can understand, it feels like finally you're not, like it's a confirmation that like, oh, I really did plan all this. Like this is all coming from me, because it all makes sense, like why I would choose these things and why these are my gifts and why these are my challenges. And that can just be so helpful to have that outward reflection. One, because it helps you realize like, I'm not quote unquote crazy, or I'm not making this up. This is very real. And this is something I've always felt. And two, it helps guide you towards like, what you need to focus on, and, what I feel like it's like a curriculum in school. It's like, all right, this is what's coming up for you, be prepared for this. And it's very, very helpful. So yeah. Did you always, when you were growing up, were you into astrology at all? Or like, were you into any of this stuff? Like, were you spiritual? Did you believe in more or no?
Yes, I absolutely was. I was, however, raised in a Catholic home. And so, it wasn't necessarily something that was encouraged. It was more so something to be afraid of. But I definitely was always interested. And, for anyone, I think that's interested in astrology, initially, it just starts out with reading your sun sign horoscope. I'm a Leo, my sun sign. So, in magazines or newspapers or any of those things, you start reading your horoscope. And as those things resonate with you and seem to hit home so hard, it develops your interest further and further. And most people don't know more than their sun sign, which is the month you were born. But, even if anyone's that interested in astrology, where they like to look into their sun sign horoscope, it's very important to know what your top three are: your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign, because that's a much better picture of your personality than just your sun sign. The sun is the ego, a large part of your vitality. And the moon sign is your emotions, how they process, how they function, how psychic and intuitive you are or are not.
What does it mean when you have, I'm sorry.
No,
well, what does it mean when you have the same sign for both your sun and your moon?
Do you have that?
Yes.
Nice. So, that would just give an easier flow between your ego and your emotion. They're resonating on the same frequency, which is nice, because if you think of, let's say you have a fire sign sun and a water sign moon. Well, the, fire people are just that. They're fiery and energetic and in the forefront, and water signs can be a little bit more introverted, a little more sensitive. They have a lot more psychic energy coming towards them. And so those two things can kind of either balance each other out or play against each other if you are trying to overcome aspects of ego to tap into those things. Right. So, what is your moon sign and your sun?
Taurus.
Oh, nice. So very grounded, very grounded. That's good. Earth moons are really nice.
Yeah. It's, yeah. I just learned that recently. So that's why I was curious, like what, and I've never heard it described the way you're describing it. Like the sun is this and the moon is this. So that's super interesting to me.
Yeah. And the rising sign is really cool because it's actually what you look like. It's your body type. So you don't look like your sun sign. So when people are like, oh, can you guess what I am?
Yeah.
I'm like, if I don't know you well enough or I haven't had enough interaction with you, I generally don't know your sun sign off the top of my head. But when I look at your face, I can usually tell what you are. And like, for example, Sagittarius rising people always have really great legs. You think
Really?
it's the half man, half horse. You know, the long, dainty legs. Yes.
Yeah.
Libra rising people, you know, the scales,
Yeah.
they have very balanced features.
Yeah.
Pisces rising people are going to have a little bit wider set eyes, like the fish.
Interesting. Oh my goodness.
And you're also ruled by your rising sign's planetary ruler. So, for example, if you're a Taurus sun, Taurus is ruled by Venus. If you knew that, you might have thought, oh, Venus is my planet. Well, while she has great influence, it is the case that whatever your rising sign's ruler is, that is your planetary ruler.
Oh,
that is your planet.
Okay.
So,
I was just thinking, I was like, what's my rising sign? I have to look at my chart. I have no idea. But that's so interesting about like what you look like. I've never heard that or thought of that. That is very, very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And a fun thing to do that I always mention in readings is when I do tell people what their rising sign is to, and only because celebrities are the easiest way to compile a lot of pictures of somebody, you can look up, like, let's say, for example, female Virgo rising celebrities. Yeah. And it will show them
pictures.
And you will see the similarities between their features. Wow. And I guarantee everyone, I'm like, there will be somebody on that list that either A, you've always resonated with, or like, oh, I've always loved her, or people that you have heard that you look like before.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I only get told one person that I look like all the time, or not all the time, but like whenever someone says it, they say the same person, and it's Anna Kendrick, and I was like, I gotta look up what her rising sign is.
You look like to me, you look like an Aries rising or a Capricorn rising.
I think I might be an Aries rising.
Ooh.
I'm going to have to get back to you after this for sure.
You will have to. I'd love to see your natal chart anyways. Yeah. But yeah. I've seen Brandon's and his sons. They're both very special charts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because Brandon's a Leo too, right? Do you guys have close birthdays?
Yeah. I don't remember when his birthday is, but I do know that he's a Leo.
Yeah.
And I gave him a reading kind of just over the phone one time.
Yeah.
But it definitely shows his chart is parallel to what he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Totally. Wow. That's so cool. That is really interesting. Wow. Awesome. Cool. Well, so how can people contact you for readings and also let's say someone reaches out to you, but they're not a starseed. Will you still do the reading or would you just refer them to someone else?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. No, I still do traditional astrology readings. And again, when it is a starseed, I'm always doing a blend of traditional astrology and starseed astrology. Right. You have to do some of the traditional stuff so that people, because that shows, I see that you had this challenge within your life, and I see that you have this gift, and this looks like, I feel like this is the kind of work you do, or something like that. Yeah. And generally, people come back to me and say that there's accuracy within what I've said. But yeah, I always just kind of tie that in because your mission is intertwined with what your challenges are, because that is where you have the capacity to heal the most. And I will say that probably more than half of the starseed confirmations that I do, along with some other specific challenge, they are doing the very sacred work of clearing negative family cyclical karmic patterns, because as we're shifting in frequency and we are raising into higher dimensions, it's the case that unless those patterns are stopped, then your soul family, the children that you bring in, or what have you, cannot move forward unless that cyclical pattern ends somewhere, because when you've experienced something as a child, some kind of traumatic event or a certain way in which your parents raised you, it was the case that they experienced some aspect of this as well. And then also prior to them, and this goes on through the lineage. So most starseeds are doing that as well.
That is really cool. We're doing it.
We're doing it, sister.
We're doing it. How can people reach out to you if they want to read?
Oh, right. So my website is starseedsouls.com. So www.starseedsouls, plural.com. And then I also have an Instagram. And so a lot of people find me through there as well.
Awesome.
We
could put those links in the show notes so that people can just click in there. So if you're interested in reaching out to Tracie, you can look in the show notes or just type in the website she just gave you. Perfect. So let me ask you this question, because this is a question I love to ask anyone who comes on here. What's one thing that you think would benefit every Positive Head listener to know or understand as they continue on their own journey?
I think that the most important thing to understand is that you have to make and I like the way you guys put it when you say it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. I think that's very important. And I think that when you do kind of connect to these astrological aspects and kind of draw parallels between your life and this chart, it allows you to have a much broader perspective of what's happening, and to tie that in to that daily conscious effort to raising your vibration. As signs come, a lot of people that I'm sure a lot of people that listen to the Positive Head podcast, especially because synchronicity is mentioned so often, that, people will start, maybe hadn't seen time codes prior to listening to the shows. And then all of a sudden they start seeing 111, 222, 333, which, by the way, when I do the Starseed confirmations, sometimes people will have the mark of starship communication.
What's
and
that?
This is exactly what it sounds like. This means that these people have a direct line of communication to their star family. And this is something that is a gift, essentially. And it's always happening throughout their life, but they can't necessarily come through to the full extent that they can as when you let them know that you are aware of them and that you are open to your highest guidance at this time. And I tell them, I was like, once you do that, though, you be prepared for those time codes and signs and license plates in front of you to start coming through even stronger. And sometimes within readings, I get time codes during the readings.
Wow.
And I always tell people about that. Prior to doing any reading, I will meditate on it and call in their star family, their higher self, their guides to be in communication with mine, so that I can give my best interpretation possible for their highest guidance. And so I'll be talking about the marks of mastership that they have in their chart, and I'll glance at the time and it's 11:22 at that exact moment. And I'm like, oh, time code, confirmation. Just all the time. I can't think of anything else very specific at the moment, but it comes through for sure. So I would say, it's just really important to, if you're interested in these things and developing yourself spiritually, get a natal chart reading, get a starseed confirmation if you're wondering if you are, because once you know and you hear these things, especially those starseeds who are operating at a very high level of mastership. And there's even starseeds where I get their chart and they are carrying the ascended masters frequency.
Wow.
The ascended masters are like Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Mary, Krishna, they're all starseed. They were all incarnate here for love and light. They were all dedicated to our proper ascension, and they're seldom incarnate here. And so in their absence, they can work through masterful starseeds who volunteer to carry the avatar or ascended master's frequency here in the third dimension. And they essentially broadcast that frequency from the day they are born until the day this incarnation ends. And so let's say you had that marking, this would be, your mom, baby Alexa in the grocery cart, and the universe and the ascended masters would work it out just so that you wind up in line behind somebody who they are trying to reach. And there you are broadcasting that frequency and holding that space here for them in the third dimension to do healing work. So, when you're aware of these things and you realize what it is that, you're working with, it really puts a pep in your step. It lightens things up for people because they realize, hey, all of these things are for the better, and I have work to do. I have a mission here.
Yeah.
So
what I hear you say is that it also allows you to be more in service.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas I think when we feel purposeless and we feel lost and confused, we're very focused on the me and like, what am I doing and how can I get more or get more love or get more, like we're so worried about ourselves that we can't even think about anyone else. And it becomes a very selfish, in the more negative connotation, I would say, existence. And so then I know that this is at least how I experience it. Like the more I understand the more I understood my purpose, the more I understood like everything that had come together for me to be here, the more it allowed me to take the focus off of myself in that way and be more of service because, like you said, like you realize you have work to do. Like you're here for a reason. You're here to help other people, and that does really like lighten you up in a big way because you can get yourself out of the way.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people too who will come back to me and they'll say either, yes, I do healing work because I will see these markings in their chart, that indicate that they have the ability to heal through their hands or any of those healing modalities or clairvoyant abilities or one of the clairs. And they'll say, yes, I'm utilizing that. I'm doing that. I'm glad to hear that, that this is in my chart. This is confirmation. But then there's also people who are, if they're in the corporate world, there's a lot of societal pressures and most of us are married to our five senses. And it's hard to step outside of that. And so when they hear these things, it's the case that they'll come to me and say, I work a corporate 9 to 5, but for years now I've been drawn to this specific modality, healing modality, or someone before has told me that I have the ability to do Reiki and I wasn't sure what to do with that or if it was something that was really possible. And so it will kind of give them, a little push to moving towards that, to developing that, to incorporating that into their life, so.
Yeah, like a permission slip, validation.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. I love that. And that could be anything. All they need is like to give themselves that permission and then, the gates are open. So
Exactly.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I have one more question for you. And that is something we also love to ask the guests on the show, which is, do you have any, mystical or fun stories of synchronicity or manifestation or anything that, it was like a really interesting story in your life that you feel called to share?
Yes. So I will say from right out the gate, like, when I first started studying astrology is when the time code started for me. I was seeing 1111 nonstop. And 1111 is kind of one of those more general ones that a lot of people see. And it's even, 1111, make a wish. People, I've heard that all through my life prior to studying astrology, but with not much of a spiritual connection to it. It was just something that people would say, 1111, make a wish. But as I was studying, I was seeing this constantly. And, what 1111 is confirmation from your guides that you're on the right path. And so ever since that, or then, everything has just been one giant, synchronicity. But I will say that one really fun, specific story is when I first had my first Starseed confirmation, I did find out that I had the mark of starship communication. And that same day, a girlfriend flew into town to visit me. And she didn't get there till the evening. And we were hanging out outside, and, the sun had set. And where I was living at the time, which was in Southern Oregon, you could see the stars so clearly where I was. And you could see the Milky Way, clear as day, right over my home. And so I was telling her all about this, and I told her about the starship communication, and we were actually sitting outside in a couple of camping chairs kind of looking at the stars. And she was like, okay, well, if you have starship communication, she's like, why don't you call them in if they're right there for you? And I was like, okay. And so I said something in my head or whatever. And we were sitting there in these chairs, and all of a sudden I'm looking up at the sky. And there's an airport not too far from where we were. And so I was very aware of the red and the green blinking light and what a plane looked like versus what the stars look like. And there's a specific height that you're looking at in the sky or distance where you realize it's so tiny, it's so far away that this is not a plane. So I saw two stars come from opposite directions. They came right over top of us, did a figure 8 right above us, and started going in opposite directions again.
Wow.
And I asked my friend, I was like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? And she was like, send them back, send them back. So that was really, really cool. That was like the day that I got my first Starseed confirmation myself.
Oh my God. How synchronistic.
That was really cool.
That is so cool. That is like, I love, that's like such a punctuation on everything that, you were just expressing about what you do. It's like you get this information, you open the door, you give yourself the permission slip to like connect to that. And then you get that like that visual confirmation of like, we're here, you have this, like we've always been here. And that's so cool. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Well, Tracie, it has been such a pleasure talking to you and learning more about like Starseed astrology and, all just your energy and everything. It's just beautiful. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you feel called to share before you wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I think that that's pretty much it. Yeah, I just invite anybody who is curious to, get a reading. They're 30-minute recorded readings, so you can keep them and listen to them forever, as many times as you'd like. And, it's something that's really special and really important to know. And again, I would really love to see your chart. So go ahead and send me over your birth information after this is done so that I can take a look at that, and I'll let you know what yours are. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, because I know that there's a lot of Starseeds listening to the show that need to hear what they've got going on.
Yes. Amen. This is for you. If you're listening and your ears are perking up or your heart is beating a little faster, that means you. So
exactly. Come find me.
Don't be shy. Reach out to Tracie. Again, her website is starseedsouls.com, and we'll put that in the show notes so you can reach out to her. Tracie, thank you so much for being on the show. So much love and light to you.
You as well, Alexa. Thank you.
And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talk with Brandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.